Alright, good morning. If you're watching this video, you are in geography. And in order to be in geography, I hope you have the following things. I hope you have your geography book. Hope you have something to write with. And I hope you have your notebook because you will need them. Part of this video series is that you're going to be doing, taking notes and learning from me at your computer so that it can be a little more personable just for you, and you can kind of dictate your speed. If you have to finish these videos at home, you finish them at home. It's okay. So what we're going to do is, this section is called Technology Tools for Geographers. What I want you to do right now is to open up your geography book to page 10. I'll wait for you. Go ahead and pause the video while you do that. Okay, so you should have been opening up your book to page 10. You should see this right here. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to watch me talk about each section of the video, of the section. You're then going to take notes on what I talk about and read from your book. So when you're done, you will turn in your notes with the section review on page 15. And I will grade all of that together. Your notes will be worth about 30% of the grade. So I do want to see you take good notes of this. Hopefully you would have already made the PowerPoint for me. So you went out and you found pictures based on the terms you saw in your book, or you wrote down the vocabulary words. So what you're going to do is you're going to be watching me. You're going to see me talk about it. You're going to pause at the end of each section when I finish talking, and then you're going to actually write down notes from what you read in your book. When you're done with that, you just restart the video and you'll go from there. So let's start with the science of map making. In this section on page 11, you're going to learn how understanding of the world started. Way back when you figure like Christopher Columbus, when they wanted to know what the world looked like, they actually had to go into ships and use what's called surveyors to map the world in relation to another spot. So they left, say, England or France, and they knew how far the next coast was. And then when they got there, they would painstakingly go up and down the coast in their ships and illustrate the coast right there from their ships, and they would come back and give that information to a cartographer. A cartographer is a fancy word for a map maker. That person would then transcribe their notes onto a globe. So a globe is just a sphere that's printed of a copy of the world. Those are really nice, and they can be really pretty and really fancy. The problem with a globe is that it's hard to carry. You can't exactly take a globe and stick it in your pocket and go down the street. So what they started doing was they would also make these maps, and very large maps that showed the world in relation to another spot. Because geographers, as you learned in the first section, are all about land and spatial terms. So they want to know how Swansea is connected to St. Louis and St. Louis is connected to the world, and so they make these maps. So what I want you to do now is you're going to read the section on pages 11 and 12 titled The Science of Map Making. You're going to take notes on what you read there. I want at least 2 sentences about how they make maps. Why, who makes maps? Who started it? So focus on what a map is, who makes maps, and who helps them make maps. Pause the video now, do that. Okay, so now you took notes on the section titled The Science of Map Making. Now we're on satellites. So you need to skip a line and write the word satellites. Do that now, I'll wait for you. Okay, so now we don't have to rely on map makers to just drive around. We can actually use satellites. And what you're going to see in this section is that the most known satellite, they're called Landsat. And these Landsat, there's 2 of them. And they actually go around the Earth at the same speed the Earth goes. So while they're kind of stuck in place, they can actually show you changes in the land and about how things move around, and they can actually circle the globe in 18 days. So you're going to read now about Landsat, and I want you to tell me why they help map makers and cartographers. Go ahead and read that section and write those notes and pause the video. All right, now you did that. Now you kind of know a little bit more about satellites and why we use them. Well, now you're going to read about what's known as the GPS. GPS is where it's evolved to what we know now as just getting onto your phone and finding a map to a place. You know, Google Maps, Apple Maps, pretty much anything you need on your phone or a computer, they use GPS. That is a global positioning system, meaning the satellites in the sky, they can pinpoint exactly where you are based on your location. They use latitude and longitude, and it shows you exactly where you are. Hikers use GPS. They have these just handheld, look like walkie-talkies, but all they are is a GPS. And if you are in trouble, you hit a button and it sends a ping out to the satellite to let them know exactly where to find you. So when you think of GPS, you think of the handheld that's in your hand for a map. Go ahead, pause the video, write for me 2 sentences about what GPS is and why we need it. Tell me how it started from map making, drawing a map by hand, to now being on a phone or a computer. Go ahead and do that. Okay, now the last one you're going to learn is called Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. This GIS is by far the most advanced technology that map makers have to, well, map. And you'll see on page 14 that there is a 6-step process for how geographers nowadays, they use the information from the GIS to actually make a map. And what you'll read in the section is, I want you to be able to tell me how GIS works. And what you're going to see is that it's layers. It actually takes pictures of the earth using different cameras. And from each camera, it can look at a different spot. It can look at just a city. It can look at just the trees and the debris. And you're going to be able to see exactly how that works. So I want you to read that section, write for me a 2-sentence review on what GIS is and how it works. Tell me in your own words how GIS works. Then when you're all done with that, you'll see on page 15, you have the section review. You will do all 9 questions on the section review. Number 1 is explain the importance of maps, cartographers, and the GIS. You will have to explain the importance of each of those, not definitions. Explain why we have them. Number 2, it says, use your completed web diagram to answer the following question. What are some geographers' tools besides maps and globes? So look back in this section, what tools do geographers have to make maps other than maps and globes? So look at some of those tools that you read about. Number 3, what were 2 early means of showing Earth's surface? So before we had computers, what were 2 ways that we showed the surface? How did they do that? Number 4, how did remote sensing change the way geographic data were obtained? So how did remote sensing change it? We started off having to be there in person. Now we can do it remote, but how did it change it? And then number 5, what are some ways that GIS can be used? So what do we use it for? There's a very interesting example on page 15. You just have to go back and look. Numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9, you make critical thinking. So you need to answer each of those in the best terms you can. Don't be afraid to ask me for help or one of the other teachers in this our classroom. And I hope you do really well. Again, you can always go back and look at this video and see if anything helps you that I gave you. But that is Chapter 1, Lesson 2 in a nutshell. Thanks.